let's get into battle rap now. Let's jump into that. All right. So this weekend, Nome Impact went down. This is one of URL's signature brand events. Summer Impact being the other large brand event that went down. And so they obviously, as we talked about before, they decided to mix it up. They had 2-on-2 teams. Um, all throughout the event, there was a surprise battle. I don't know how many of these battles you got to see in its entirety. I know you were on vacation, so then that makes it even harder to tap in, watch battles. So I will ask you this then. I want to start with I watched or listened to the majority of the battles. I went back and watched the main event, Gun Orthodox versus Rocky Geechee in its entirety. I watched, and I also sat and watched Miss Hustle. I think it was Godbody, Miss Hustle, Danny Myers versus Wild Card, which is Jerry West and Lou Castro. In part because I heard they had from what I heard, I like what I was hearing from West and Lou Castro, and I heard they had a really good performance as well. So I want to ask you a couple of questions because Hollow and Kyle, who took on Shotgun, Suge, and Old Red, they were widely panned for their performance. I think the consensus is Shotgun Suge did his job. Everyone else was not up to par. I don't know if you heard about this. Old Red, he was getting to his third, and he asked the crowd, "Do y'all want to hear me rap this?" They told him no, allegedly. And he said, "All right, I'm done." And that was the end of the round. But Cal said that I'm sorry, Hollow said that he felt like he was not given enough appropriate time to prep time for the battle. He said he got 3 weeks. So I want to ask you a couple of questions. How much prep time should leagues give battle rappers? Two-part question. One, for a 2-on-2, and then for a solo 3-round battle.
Good question. I think that if you're talking about a battle that you want, the best possible outcome, material and everything for your battle, that you should know a month ahead of time. You should know a month ahead of time. I think most battlers, can put together 3 solid rounds in 30 days and deliver them at, a high level in which they battle rap. The thing about it is this, though. Battlers have to have some accountability for signing the contract when they sign the contract and agreeing to the battles when they agree to the battles. Jazz is a great example. Jazz the rapper. Like, she is notorious for not taking battles if she doesn't have the prep time she feels she deserves. She won't do it, Now, look, her bills are paid, apparently, because I'm sure there's plenty of bags that have been offered to Jazz, you know what I mean? And she's like, no, I don't got the prep time. I don't need the money. I don't want, I'm not sacrificing, my brand, my material, and what I do on stage because you can't figure out how to set this up ahead of time. Shout out to Jazz. Not everybody's built like that. Some people need battle rap. Some people need battle rap money. Some people need, the notoriety, the buzz, the stage, the staying active, all of that kind of stuff. And I think you can tell when people start saying, yo, I'll do this battle. Sure. It's not what I really want, but it's always hindsight's 2020. Apollos and Calicos would have went out there and it would have been a crazy reception and they would have got busy. We would have probably never heard this from Hollow to Don. It's just what happened is it's the other way around, and it went public because it was the other way around, like that's a conversation that, you can go back and you could tell them, look, I'm not happy with the reception of this battle. I'm not happy what they're saying online about me. I'm not gonna go out here and say this, but look, URL, like I'm not doing this no more, like this is not what it is, but I also do think that, going public about it is hopefully giving some accountability to URL. But at the end of the day, some leagues know when they're going to have their events and you get a good ample amount of time. And URL has not been that league lately. I know I have tons of friends, that, 2-3 weeks before the event, they're releasing, who's battling, but they don't even have the card filled yet. They don't have the, they don't have any of that kind of stuff, taken care of yet. And so, they don't have flight spot. They don't have, hotels booked and different things like that. So it has got to be frustrating, but it's also like, yo, like you wanted to be on Nome Impact, you wanted to be able to say you were on Nome, and you accepted the battle. If you can't do it, if you don't think you can give your best product, don't accept the battle.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I wouldn't take a week, a battle on King of the Dot or RBE or Chrome or anything like that on a week or 2 week notice. I wouldn't. I'll go smoke anybody in any city on any small leagues in a week or 2 week notice because I know, that I can use what I do very, very well in those rooms, and perform at a high clip for them in those situations within 7 days notice. That does not go the same for what it takes to battle on these big stages in front of big crowds with high risk, big platforms, making sure that every T is crossed and every I is dot.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, let me jump to another battle. So I'm gonna go Av and Fonz versus T Top and Swamp. Now I do think that shout out to Hitman. I do think this battle is gonna look a little different on Cam versus what happened in the building. Av and Fonz, I think, were heavy favorites in this matchup because of their ability as punchers, because of what happened against Lou Castro and K Shine, right? Which people thought was one of the best battles of the year, period, across the battle rap landscape when it happened. But T Top and Swamp, charismatic, had jokes, some good punches, some good angles they took against Avon Fonz, and people have them clearly winning that battle, right? So off of that, I want to ask you, in your opinion, what do you think makes for a good 2-on-2 team?
Well, I mean, there's the variables in 2-on-2 are huge. Like Av and Fonz battled Lou and K-Shine in a small room around a whole bunch of battle rappers. People that catch things very quickly, people that know and understand the punchlines and things like that. A room where you didn't have to project, out over the crowd and different things like that. So those punchers, those guys like that are just known for punchlines and stuff like that. They were very successful in that type of room. You put it on top of that stage, you know what I mean? And when you get on that stage, you got to dance. You got to have pacing. You got to have performance. You got to have swag surfing app. You got to have different things like that up there. And I'm sitting here listening to the clips that I watched, and I did catch a few of them. And I'm sitting here listening to punchlines. And the same went for Rum Nitty and Twerk at times. The punchlines are crazy. And maybe in a one-on-one battle set up the right way, that bar drops the building. But in a 2-on-2 battle, if it's just another punchline, it's not really doing for the crowd what it's supposed to do. I remember when I battled Ill Will, I thought I had a lot of crazy material written, and I got some good reaction. But what set me apart was when the rebuttals hit and the energy was there and that kind of stuff. When I put the bucket hat on and stormed the Capitol building, when I did different things on that big stage, Crown Vic line against Vixen. That's the kind of stuff that you want in front of those big crowds, and you want to be different. Everybody can get up there and rap and punchline, but there's just something about being different, and like you said, I haven't seen T Top and Swamp clips, so I can't speak to what they did as opposed to what Avon Fonz did. But yeah, I mean, a 2-on-2 team, like it's just it's such a different, from a big stage to a small stage, small room is just so different, Like you can be lethal in the small room. You really can. You could be lethal in a small room with two great battle rappers. It don't matter. You could put two guys together randomly if they're good. Small room, just battle rappers around and some fans. It can go crazy. Those big stages, though, you got to be on that Loaded Hollow stuff. Whenever he was behind them, and he was doing this, you got to be, dropping the coins, the shell cases. Like that's 2-on-2 battle rap on big stage. DNA and K-Shine, gun titles. That's 2-on-2 battle rap on big stages. The BC segment from Nitty and Twerk, that's
That
2-on-2
was
battle
crazy.
on big
That was
stages.
crazy.
Right? Not just getting up there. You say 2 bars, I say 2 bars. You say this punchline, I say this punchline. You name flip him, you name flip. That stuff, that's not on that big stage.
Yeah, and so when you say that, I want to jump into giving some kudos to Jerry West and Lou Castro. Like I said, I was moving around, so I had the battles on listening. I was not watching, and so I wanted to go back and watch that performance in particular, in part for the contrast, because you could see that there was between Miss Hustle and Danny that they weren't as in sync, they weren't as coordinated as Lou Castro and Jerry West were, right? And Lou Castro already known for his performance And I think he's getting even better in that aspect and in his ability to play off the crowd and get them into what they're doing. Although I would love to ask uh, Lou Castro a question. I don't know if this actually happened or if he was just simply just kind of this was a part of the act. So during the third round, Jerry West has a ISO, right, where he's going at both Hustle and Danny, and you can clearly hear Lou Castro say, "This is not the round. This is not the round." Like he says it like 2 or 3 times. Now he doesn't say it loudly, right? But it's loud enough for the audio mics to pick it up that this not the round, this not the round. And then he finally interrupts after a certain bar. I can't remember the name of what bar, what punch that West has, but then he kind of interrupts. It's like, yo, like what you want, right? And then they go and sync together from there. But again, those two had a really good performance, playing off of Miss Hustle's, attractiveness, playing off of Danny and his kids and the easy situation. Really good performance for them. I thought that the young newer guys, oh god, Swervo, excuse me, and
Authentic.
no, that's
No, She
authentic. And
Happens.
Kid Slade, She Happens. Thank you. She Happens. I didn't have that in my notes because that was the surprise battle, so I didn't have that in my notes when I put this together last week. So I thought those guys did pretty well for their first. I feel like that's their first big stage. Period. So I want to shout out those younger guys and give them kudos for what they were able to do, even being the first battle up. Normally, first battle gets a lot of love because everybody's excited to hear bars, but I thought they did pretty well as also. Um, hey, I'm with Mama Ward on this. At the 8 hours of 2-on-2, like time limits, time limits, time limits. 2.5, 3 minutes tops, guys. We don't. Shout out to Nitty and Twerk. Amazing from a technical written standpoint. Really dope bars, really dope punches. But like the crowd, it's been 8 hours. Like they're tired, their feet are hurting, they're ready to go home at this point. Even when you have 4 of the premier battle rappers in the world on a stage, they're tired. So yes, time limits because their rounds were incredibly long. And to me, even though I enjoyed they could have tailored that material down a little bit and cut out some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Last question I'll ask, and I'm trying to see. So I want to shout out DNA and John John. I think Flair, Soul, and Foots had a lot to say about these guys not being legend, or in particular John John not being a legend. Soul said DNA was boring during the face-off. Right? They talked a lot about them to sell this fight, and DNA and John John were I'm not gonna say the only ones who got a 30 for the night, but definitely a clear 30 in their performance. And I think Let's Talk Battle Rap in their recap had them as the top 2-on-2 team of the night from the event. And so I want to ask you this to close the show or close out this segment. Is crafting material for a 2-man team different than how, I guess, compare and contrast the differences in crafting material for a 2-man team versus a solo battle?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of difference. One is that everybody's got different writing styles and everybody's got different ways they like to deliver bars. And so you really have to you have to humble yourself, to like trust your teammate to like, hey, how he delivers lines and writes lines. It might be different. It might not be exactly how I would say it or what I want to say there or whatever. And you have to really humble yourself and be, okay, I trust my teammate that like he's at this level because he's that good in this way, let him do it his way. Let me write my way. And then we have to come to an agreement to like, here's how we're going to deliver everything. And then like there's lines that, you might want to say the punchline, but it might be like, oh, we wrote it this way, and it's better if this guy says the punchline. You just gotta really be in tune with what your teammates willing to do. I'm a risk taker in battle rap. Loso will tell you, Saga will tell you, different guys will tell you, like, I want to do different things. When me and Loso are prepping for 2-on-2 battles, I'm calling him like, yo, what this crazy idea? Let's do the part where I finished it, you finished the sentence, and we started this other way, and it's like, wait, what? You know what I mean? Like, and then it takes your teammate to be like, I trust you, and it might be a situation where you get on teams with somebody that's is a little bit harder to work with. If you don't have, the ability or the time and effort to because you live in two different states or whatever, that stuff's different too. Um, but like 2-on-2s are supposed to be an all-star game. They're supposed to be fun. And um, so writing for your opponents, like you gotta really hone in and get that chemistry. I think that's one of the big things that Loso and myself succeeded at was like just even on our first time ever being a 2-on-2, the chemistry that was there. We kind of know each other's writing style. We know where we're going. Um, and yeah, it's not easy, but it's also a lot different than writing for a one-on-one battle because you got two people thinking about name flips, two people thinking outside of the box. So
Yeah, and I want to close on this. Like, I know when we talked about Nome a couple of weeks ago, and I said, man, like, I'm not excited for this event. I was excited to it's battle rap. I'm always excited to watch what you guys come up with and the creativity and everything that comes up with it. And I couldn't put my finger on like what why wasn't I excited? And I think you hit on something when I was thinking about, the kind of the aftermath of the event or whatever, and thinking about discussing it for the show. I think it was the fact that 2-on-2s, like you said, are all-star games. And I feel like for me, Gnome
yeah,
in the battle rap group chat when I asked this question, and I don't know if you had a chance to see it, like which brand has produced the better uh content over the years? Has it been Gnome or Summer Impact? And while I know URL says Summer Impact's a Super Bowl of battle rap, but I feel like
no Summer Madness, but yeah, good,
sorry, Summer. I'm looking at a Summer Impact flyer. Summer
yeah,
Madness is the Super Bowl of battle rap, but I feel like Gnome as a brand in terms of matchups with high stakes, matchups with high narrative content behind it. Gnome has surpassed Summer Madness for me in that regard. I think you think about, when Geechee Gotti takes on Tay, I'm not Tay Rock. Geechee Gotti takes on Surf at Nome. You have Lux and Verb at Nome. You have Surf on his return battle taking on Nitty. I feel like Goods Tay Rock. I think Daylight Tay Rock. You have all these different battles that had the culture going crazy, either up to or after the battle, whether it be for good or bad reasons. And I feel like Gnome has produced the better content, it's produced the better storylines, had higher stakes attached to some of these battles. And then if you look at so I'm looking at the Summer Impact flyer, right? Like, no, this is no disrespect to the newer guys, but you look at the matchups on this card, and it's all major names. Jazz and Official versus E Hart and 40. You got Marvin Quest, who are 2-on-2 goats, versus Suge and Nitty. I'm a Suge and Twerk. Goods and Clips versus John and oh gosh, Hitman. My bad. It's multiple remixes. Sorry, I'm not right. So you get EFB versus NWX, which to me is a classic 2-on-2. Unfortunately, the debacle that was Cal and Mook versus Briz and T Top. But then you have DNA. I'm sorry. You have Lux and Hollow versus Gun Titles, which ended up being Guns and Cake with once Surf got locked up near the end. But look at the names I listed. Right, we're talking Mount Rushmore guys. We're
yeah.
talking female goats, female greats. Like there were no. I mean, in EFB, it's probably kind of the youngest. Them in Dark Life, which was Briz and Top. Like, and even those guys are vets. But I feel like EFB was probably the only new stars on that card. Everyone else is YouTube era, grind time, Smack DVD. You know what I'm saying? And so that's not a diss to the new guys because I do want to shout out those new guys for getting Gnome on their resume, and for those who took that time and took that moment. Like I said, Swervo, She Happens, Kid Slade, Authentic. My first time ever seeing Authentic rap. I was impressed with what he did. I was again Jerry, and I feel like Jerry is probably going to end up on Summer Madness now. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to have a Gnome and a Summer Madness on his resume in the same year. Dope for him. Lou campaigning for a Summer Madness after that performance. So I do want to shout those guys out, and I want to shout out Geechee, Tay Rock, and Gun Orthodox. Those guys, you have a tired crowd. It's been a long night, and they still put on, even though
Yeah.
the crowd wasn't always there with them. I feel like the first round from Gun Orthodox, all three were dope, but I feel like that first round was crazy. The BC segment in the second was crazy. And then in the third, Geechee and Tay Rock basically just almost like a relay race. Tay Rock has like a 3-minute segment, and then Geechee follows it up with a 3-minute segment. Really dope, really good material that the crowd really enjoyed and they really ate up. So man, I want to salute those guys for again putting on for the crowd. They were high. Even that battle, right? It was very friendly, right?
Yeah, that was a double impact card with a Gnome headliner. I mean, that's what it was.
I like that. I like that.
Yep.
I like that. So I mean, again, salute to those guys for putting on, man. I appreciate that. I do want to close the show. I want to make sure I get my. I had this up for a long time. I forgot to take it down. I want to give my YouTube drop of the week to Cashflow Rizzy and Shuni the Rapper. This battle went down during I think it's the Pandemic 2. Was the name of the card from Bullpen Battle League. I'm completely guessing on that. I could have got it wrong.
It was the Pandemic, but I don't know if it was Volume 2. But yeah.
All right, let me make sure I get this right. Let me give Bullpen their just due and make sure I get it right. You're right. It was the Pandemic. It was not Pandemic 2. I think the Pandemic. There was supposed to be a Pandemic, but I think it got canceled.
Yeah, something like that.
So the Pandemic Bullpen Battle League, Cashflow Rizzy versus Shuni the Rapper, a dope back and forth between these two female MCs. I had Cashflow taking a third. I had Shuni taking the second, and to me, that first, it comes down to the first, which is debatable. I edged Shuni, but I could be convinced to edge it to Cashflow on the second watch. So again, if you go check it out on YouTube. This is brought to you by All Things Battle Rap. Follow them on Twitter at All Things Bat Rap. They post upcoming matchups and YouTube drops. If you guys really want to support the culture, get away from all the foolishness. I know the battle rap counter for foolishness has been reset to 0 after some of the events that have taken place post Nome Impact. But if you want to really support the culture, you want to support YouTube drops, go check out those two young ladies and support their work and support Bullpen Battle League. And with that, that has been our show. We appreciate you guys tuning in with us. Please remember, you can check out every episode of It's a Black and White Thing wherever you find the good podcast. You can check us out on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, and IG by searching at Brains and Bars. And I think that's it. I am awardmerch.com.
Shop. I'm awardshop.com.
I'll get it right at some point. I'm awardshop.com for all award merch. Until next time, it's been a black
and white
thing, man. I guess go ahead and collect your winnings there. We're gonna put the Cash App up. So if you want to turn into a tips hotline, call Award. He's going to have all the over and unders for you for baseball season. He is 1-0 on the season. We're not going to count anything that happened during the Vegas trip. We're going to start today.
Start Sunday. We started beginning this week. I haven't lost yet. I haven't lost this week yet.
Undefeated. So call the hotline. He's got all the hot tips for you in terms of who to bet, overs and unders for baseball season. And until next time, we'll talk to you guys next week, man. Y'all be
Deuces.